best entertainment on the earth. Tune in for Comics with Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch, and wanted to talk about what may be the most popular superhero comic out right now. And it's one you may not have heard of, but it's got some pretty incredible numbers. Basically, I mean, it's a little hard to break down. You'll understand why. So it currently claims that around 110,000 people religiously read every chapter, but chapters are shared, and the total readership, the total amount of pages viewed and just content consumed exceeds 1 billion, and that's with a B. So this is by far one of the most popular superhero comics, incredibly popular in America, and worldwide does just a ridiculously popular job. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about a little title called unOrdinary. And if you're going, wait, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. This is something on Webtoon. So this is a comic that is definitely a superhero book. There is 242 episodes up. No, you heard that right. They didn't do 8 episodes and then relaunch it with a new number 1 and then kind of, do 6 issues and then stop publishing it for a year or so and then come back and do some kind of crossover and everything else. There's 242 episodes up, and it is to say it's ridiculously popular is it's an understatement. I'm not going to do a recap of the series and spoil it or anything like that, but you can see some versions for free right now if you go to Webtoon and you look at unOrdinary. This is a superhero title. Now I know what you're thinking. Superhero books are dying. Nobody likes them, especially not this younger generation that likes to consume digital comics. They don't go for any kind of web type stuff. They don't go for superheroes. It's a dead piece of content. However, with a couple clicks, you can check this out right now. Yes, it looks like manga in the sense of it's very similar style. And you'll notice if you do read it, there at least is a passing resemblance to My Hero Academia in terms of kind of the overall style and everything else. So basic synopsis without doing at least mini spoilers. unOrdinary, it's the story of a student named John Doe. He gets admitted to Wellson Private High School. And basically in this comic, just like in My Hero Academia, everybody has powers, but not all powers are equal. And people with very reduced or lame powers tend to be looked down upon the most. John, our character that we are introduced, appears to have no powers and is kind of at the lowest rung of the school. However, he has a deep, dark secret and a past that is going to come back and haunt. And it's the story is about a lot of different things. I think the equivalent of how Webtoon rates it is PG-13. So it's some violence, not over the top. Again, My Hero Academia is probably a good thing to align it with in terms of just overall content, who can read it. There are a number of different elements to it that both of school dynamics and also kind of different power struggles. There's a king, queen, and an ace who rule over the school. And again, don't want to get into just spoilers there, but basically, it threatens to bring down the school order, this deep secret of John's, and there are battles, there are enemies, there's heel turns, there's conspiracies, there's twists of people you think you can trust and you can't trust them, and it is it's an interesting dynamic. Definitely, it isn't what you think it is in terms of characters. The twists are pretty good. There are, there's a number of different secret identities at play. It's an interesting book. Now, if you are a fan of, say, classic superhero books, you love the 90s X-Men era, then this is probably going to be a rough ride for you. It's not a comic that will remind you of any of that. But again, if you are, the closest thing I come to is if you like My Hero Academia, but you would like a little bit more kind of intrigue. If you're a big fan of Promised Neverland and My Hero Academia, there's probably a decent kind of mashup of kind of some of the dynamics between characters. It's nothing like Promised Neverland's twists or anything like that, but there's an element to it. The roughest thing, though, is if you've been into superhero comics, you're going to struggle with kind of the art style. The font looks wrong. The speech bubbles look very amateurish. It looks very, it doesn't look polished at all. It doesn't have that same kind of effect. It definitely looks like a web comic. It's very much a Webtoon type thing. However, what you can't deny is that this thing is ridiculously popular. Again, the claim that they've put out is a billion, and a average issue or an average chapter here. Now, again, it's not apples to apples. Please don't come in here and say, well, but they're not buying it. It's not like, of course not. It's got a freemium model to it. It's very, very different in terms of what you're used to for traditional comics. But clearly there's an audience and clearly there's attention there. So the takeaway, if you're keeping track at home, is that right now in comics, we're facing this fascinating dynamic where comics as they are today have to change. That's what we keep being told. We can't tell the stories because the audience has moved, the audience is consuming more web content, the audience is into different things and everything else. And yet, what comics are changing into in terms of more drama type things, more slice of life type stories, more of that, it bears no resemblance to this. So comics are changing, claiming they're going after the audience that's currently on Webtoon, currently looking at books like this, and yet they're nothing like it. Again, this is a whole different beast. So I would encourage you, head over to Webtoon because it's free. You're not going to waste any of your time. Check out unOrdinary. At least look at a couple chapters. Even if you click it, you're like, this is absolutely not for me. I don't want it. Do yourself a favor, especially if you're really on top of this whole where comics are going and everything else, and just force yourself, if you hate it, to read a couple issues. Just force yourself to read a couple chapters. While you're at it, it's not the worst idea in the world to actually check out some of the other stuff on Webtoons. Slice of life does do well there. So does romance. So does fantasy. So does BL type content. So does basically gay content. It does well on this platform, no doubt about it. But what you notice when you read it is that the content there is not where current printed comics are going. They're going to some other weird, nonsensical destination that isn't the old and isn't the new either. They're venturing off to, I have no idea why they're doing what they're doing, but it's, look, when you look at the numbers of what's going on right now on Webtoon, and you look at the audience and you look at the people who are just flocking to this stuff, you get like Lore Olympus, very popular. It's a romance book. 299 million views in some cases. Again, unOrdinary. If you're just looking at the basic chapter reads, you're at 241 million views. That's a million. And then all in, as Webtoon likes to promote it, over a billion. Most of the comics I'm about to tell you about right now are over a billion. True Beauty, another romance, 234 million copies, million chapter reads, over a billion views. A billion with a B. That's absurd. I mean, when have we ever talked about comics in that realm? Even in the heyday of the 90s, we weren't talking in terms of billions. It's an immense amount of readership. And no, I'm not saying that current U.S. comics should try and steer to be this. But my question is, if they're not going to be what they were, and they're not going to be this, what are they trying to be exactly? The part to really hammer in on, though, is I don't know. I hear at least every other day that superheroes as a genre is dead. It's coming to an end. It's dying. And yet, you look at what's happening in Japan with manga, very popular superhero type stories. You look at what's happening on Webtoon, on digital, superhero is right up there. Even some of the fantasy stuff has superhero elements. Even some of the romance stuff has superhero elements. Sub-Zero has superhero type elements. So does Sweet Home, which is another very popular book. There's tons. Sweet Home's more of a horror thriller, but my point is there's lots and lots of books out here that are definitely superhero type titles. And unOrdinary, again, massive success over on Webtoon. Superhero, go check it out. Chances are you haven't heard of it before in listening to this channel, but 1 billion views. Hundreds of thousands of reads every single chapter. And again, somehow, some weird way, they're well over 240 chapters. And it's weird. It's the audience, they keep reading. They don't, lose track. They're like, wow, it's into 3 digits now. I can't possibly keep up with what's going on with this. I can't count that high. We better restart the whole thing. You look at a lot of these things. Lore Olympus, okay, just published episode 190. Okay, again, millions, 299 million views, well over 1 billion for Lore Olympus, which is a romance book. What are you doing? You can go all the way down a lot of these titles. True Beauty, 182 chapters. My Giant Nerd Boyfriend, 686 chapters. Let's Play, 153 chapters. I Love You, another romance, 164 chapters. Blue Chair, this is a slice of life book, right? Slice of life, got to keep it simple. Got to reboot, got to reset. There's no way you can keep somebody's attention. Blue Chair, 812 chapters. Tower of God, 103 chapters. Multiple seasons. It's just, look, I think the lessons here are you can be what you are or what was successful for you in the past. You can look backward and you can try and recapture that and maybe be successful and probably be successful with at least the audience that's probably buying your books right now. Or you can change. But if you change and you try and be you chase this new popular thing, why aren't you copying what the new popular thing has? Plenty of longevity, same creative teams, superheroes. What lesson are we learning here? Anyway, do yourself a favor. Go check out unOrdinary. Go check out some of the other things I've mentioned here and just familiarize yourself a little bit with this stuff. Again, you don't have to like it, but it's good to know it's out there. And the next time you hear that superheroes are dead, just, kind of point out that there's something out there active right now with 1 billion views. Superhero. Thanks for listening.